Well, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. Welcome to another edition of the Bar Podcast, Sunday Funday Mental Health Hour. Tim, what's up, buddy?
Oh, how's it going, fellas?
We're back.
We're back.
We are live, baby.
I don't like these jerseys I'm looking at, but
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah, man. We got for our audience, so you can't see this, but we're hanging out today in the Liam basement. We got 4 games on the TV. This is otherwise known as the second half. We came up with that name last week, which I think is good, man, right?
Yeah.
It's the second
I
half,
love it.
right?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I
Hanging
mean,
out.
we're not quite in the second half yet, but
We're
you know,
getting close.
We'll let you know.
Yeah.
it's
we're
the second
getting
half of
close.
the day. It's afternoon, so
It is.
Yeah, we're gonna start sharing some things out here too, man. So everybody, we'll do that all on the social media side of things. But before we get going, the Bar Podcast, if you don't know what it is, Building a Refuge is a men's mental health support group here in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're actually hanging out in Carmel, Indiana today, but we're based out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and we do things a little different, like hanging out in the basement talking about football
yeah.
and mental health. So pretty cool. We have some stuff we're going to chat about today. We have some announcements today, which is pretty fun doing it live. We just shot a podcast with a really cool dude.
Oh yeah.
We're going to drop that on you. We're also going to drop some more news, which is pretty cool. They get it live right here.
Yeah, I love
Boom.
news.
Right here in the second half, baby.
All news. is
Yeah,
good news.
man.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to kind of jump in here. I know, Austin, you said you had a few things that you wanted to kind of tee up today.
Yeah.
and-
So go ahead and talk about the podcast we just dropped and that stuff first, and then
Okay.
we can kind of get into really what Tim and I kind of discussed last night and what we'd kind of like to discuss as a topic today.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So, as many of you guys know out there, hopefully you know that we have a podcast on the YouTube channel. Obviously, if you're watching us here, we're here. So, this last week, we are excited to announce that we are now on streaming services, which is cool. So, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Podbean. I think there's and iHeartRadio. Believe that.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like all the rock stations, iHeartRadio.
It's growing.
No free
All right.
ads. No free ads.
It is pretty cool because for me personally, man, like I really like, I love this environment, but I really like just walking and listening to podcasts. So, like when I listen to them in general, I like if I'm out on a run or if I'm, walking, doing anything outside, I like that because I kind of more intently listen to it than I do watching. As you guys know me very well, I kind of have a little bit of ADHD.
A little bit.
Squirrel.
A little bit.
So shiny things attract me, like first downs in the NFL, man. Right? Well, look at the Colts up on the Jets.
Hey, that's
Huh?
not hard to do.
Well, yeah, the Jets, man. So, anyways, yeah. So we're really excited about that. You can go check that out. Just type in Bar Podcast or Building a Refuge. I think if you search any of those, you'll be able to get on the streaming services again, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, blah blah blah. But it's really cool. And this past week, we had the distinct opportunity to interview a really cool guest. We're going to drop it here. I'm going to push it out in a minute on our Facebook page. But we had the opportunity to interview James Rowe Jr.,
Yeah,
Indy Next driver.
Yeah.
that was a fun interview.
Super
That
fun.
was very fun.
Yeah.
Super fun. Like
Yeah.
just getting on with it.
Just getting on with it.
Huh?
I think everyone's gonna like it.
If
Yeah,
James is
yeah.
watching, here's the deal, man. If you're going to go to work, bring a shovel.
Don't forget it.
Don't forget your shovel if you're going to go to work. That's exactly right, man. It's such a cool little connection that I just randomly sent him one day. And lo and behold, the guy that wrote the song went to his same high school in
I know.
Ireland.
When
Yeah.
you told me that, I
Wild
was like,
story. Wild.
yeah, it is a
Yeah,
small country,
it's-
but
yeah.
what are the odds?
Here's what I really liked about it is I love the fact that when James refers to home, it's the island.
Yeah.
The island of Ireland.
Yeah,
Like, I don't I think of it as a country, right? Like, it's a country,
yeah,
but it's an island.
yeah. But it's not like I was asking him one day, and this is a sidebar, but to drive from the very tip of the north end to the south end,
Yeah.
I believe, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but it might be between 4 to 5 hours.
That's insane.
So
It's like driving
yeah,
to
that's
Nashville.
the whole country.
It's going to Nashville.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like driving to
From here,
Nashville.
from India.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
So when he said he landed here,
and landed in
he
Elkhart
goes,
Lake.
Oh shit! Like
Yeah.
the taxi's taking forever. He's like, it's the longest he's waited. I was like,
Yeah.
To put into perspective, I was like,
Yeah, we've been trying. And Tim, thanks for hooking that up for us, man.
No problem.
I really appreciate it. We try to bring in guests on the bar podcast to kind of bring different perspective. And James has got a unique perspective, right? I love his attitude of like just getting on with it, hence the title of it, right? I think he said, we just crack on.
Oh yeah.
And I had to look that up because it's a British European kind of slang term about like just get on with it, man. Like that's what you do. You just get on with it. And I think that's awesome. Like I just think that's a great motto. It hits his kind of motto of everything he does. Look at this, Tim. This dude's got wheels.
Gibbs.
Oh,
Gone.
just
That's
gone.
gonna
Look at
happen.
this.
Oh, I needed that.
Just slicing and dicing, man. Holy smokes. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, really cool. We're excited to do it. You might have seen it. So our produced podcast, I want everybody to know we're grateful to LDR Studios, Clark Crosser, Dustin Ackerd, Mike Parsons, all of the team over there that have been helping us get that out in that forum. This forum is a little bit different. We kind of do things live, right? Kind of fly by the seat of our pants, so to speak, because that's just what we stand for at Building a Refuge, man. We talk about real life shit. We talk about real stories, real life things, real life challenges that people go through every day that, quite frankly, weigh heavily from a mental wellness and mental well-being standpoint. I was just reading some articles today, man, this morning about a couple of, recent NFL players I love to tie this in, but recent NFL players, man, that have gotten hurt young or decided to retire young. And the mental stresses of what it takes for one of these athletes to go from what they did in the NFL to kind of a real life job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, man. And, there's many different reasons why NFL players retire, right? Like I said, can be from injury. It can be just simply from the fact like they're done.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck, right? Not long ago, man. I mean, he just said, look, I've had enough of this and I need to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right. Probably one of the most well-known faces in the NFL that said my mental health is way more important than, what I did on that field. And I just think it's a telling tale, man. I mean, I think it's a true like glimpse into like what's real.
Who was the young linebacker that played for the 49ers? I think he came out of Wisconsin.
Could be. I don't know.
But he only played for like 3 years. He retired at like 29.
Wow.
Because of injuries and the effects of CTE and things like that and mental health.
Yeah.
Wow.
From the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely real. You know what I mean? And I think it, I just, obviously with what we do here, we spotlight it, right? So it's going to be, it's going to be real to us. It's going to be real in these type of environments where we have an opportunity to just kind of hang out and talk about stuff like this, right? Because I think it does parallel to, people's real jobs. I mean, we all have pressures in jobs. There you go, buddy. Is that St. Brown?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just touchdown city. They're up 27-3. I'm glad I picked them today. They're my last man standing.
Yeah.
Let's go Lions.
Go
Even
Lions.
it's a Packer shirt, right?
Yeah.
How about that? So, all right, I'm gonna try to get onto our channel here so I can push some of this stuff out, fellers.
All right. Well, I think that's a good
chat away.
segue. So, last night, Timmy and I and Cassidy, my sister, we all went out to dinner and, had a great time. And we just kind of got to discussing, just different topics for really what we wanted to talk about today on this and, in relation to mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of went back and forth between a few things, but then one that really stuck was grief, the word grief.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think a lot of people go through that. And I know, Dad, what did you say the highest percentage of suicide is in men? Age, was it 40?
Oh yeah, like successful statistically, it's between 55 and 65.
Right. So
which is staggering.
That was kind of another thing we got on too. What not that obviously younger people don't go through grief and stuff too. I think all three of us on this couch have one point or another in our life.
Right.
But especially in that age range between 55, 65, I think, like you said, on, in the definition of grief, it's, a lot of perpetual sorrow and, feeling down, sad, depressed, specifically in, with the loss of somebody or the death of, someone around them. And I think in that age of 55 to 65, there's a lot of that, heaven forbid, maybe they lose a close friend, a sibling, but, a lot of them are dealing with their parents as they're getting older and with the loss of a parent. So Tim and I just kind of talked about, that last night. And to start off with talking about grief, maybe Tim, you can jump in first. Like what's a scenario or something in your life that you've had where, maybe you've been grieving over something?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, in my family, we haven't experienced what everyone naturally thinks when you think of grief is, a passing within a family.
Yeah.
Right. That's going to come in waves and stages. So it wasn't that. But a really good example is a job.
Okay. Yeah.
Where I was misunderstood and or fired or quit because I didn't feel that the goals that I had were being recognized from someone higher up within the organization, and it feels like you have to get away from it because every day you can't bring it every day. So when for that example, I left and I was grieving that because I cared so much.
Yeah,
that's a real deal. Like that is
that's a very I guess well-known example of something that a lot of people have gone through, whether it is leaving a job, getting fired from a job,
definitely getting fired.
Maybe their company, sold out and you don't have a job anymore. You get fired and anything like that.
Yeah.
But your company, sold out to a bigger company and now it's like, oh, we don't need you anymore.
100%.
So that's, it, like we were even talking last night, it's definitely not about just the loss of a family member or somebody close to you. It's also a job loss. It is, maybe a breakup. You're dating someone for a long time and there was a breakup that happened.
Dude, it can be. Yeah. I mean, it's a great point, Austin. I mean, it could be even as a relationship, like you have a best friend or whatever, and maybe something comes in between it. Like we've all heard this, right? Where like friends start businesses together.
Yeah.
And then something happens within the business, and two guys that have known each other their entire lives now hate each other. Mm-hmm. Like that breakup, that separation, right? I mean, that's heavy.
That same scenario in family.
Oh,
that's
family
businesses.
Right.
Everyone will say, "Don't go in business."
You are 100% correct.
Yeah,
that's even hard. That's a deeper cut, right?
But here, you guys, that's another great point, man. That's why I love this. So KD Del Fabro, who's my stepdad, Austin's grandfather. KD,
yes,
Tim,
sir.
Right? Respect him. He's been in my life for a very long time. I've known him, and we actually owned a business together, and it failed at the end of the day, right? But KD and I, he taught me at a young age, man. He's like, look, if we're going to do this, we got to be able to work together, and then we got to go home and sit across the table and eat together. And it took me a little bit to understand what that means, but that if you can understand that, and that really truly is how you can, like in a family business, like you have to, and I'll just quote one of my buddies, man, it came on this podcast, Josh, man, there's a time that you have to be savage. Dominate, right? And that's business. It's just business, right? So, but then there's a time when you go home and you look at one another and you set that aside and you be like, hey, man, I'm grateful you're here for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
that's tough.
It's, emotions aside.
So then I want to ask Tim, so there's typically through reading and stuff like that, you can see, there's either 5 or 7 stages of grief. Typically, the one you see more commonly is the 5 stages of grief, which one is denial, then anger, after that is bargaining, then depression, and then acceptance. So I just kind of want to go through that, even with like something you shared about quitting, losing a job, whatever. Did you see, and not everyone goes through every single one of those steps, but typically you see a glimpse of them when you're grieving something, someone, whatever. Do you so with denial, was there any of that within your scenario?
Yeah. So let's back up, right? I'll give you a real scenario and then hit me with the stages, and I'll see if I can reflect back with that, because that's what's real, right? Let's see if we can hit those. So before I got into the industry I'm in now, I think a lot of our listeners know that I was in motorsports.
Yep.
Okay. And I was in charge of running pit crews for an IndyCar team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And within that, okay, short form is your performance, okay, as a pit crew member, okay, has a winning streak, right? If you're the fastest in 1 week and it's like college football, you'll get 50 points rewarded you at the end of the year. The top 3 teams get financial winnings.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
for their commitment. And when I started, we were dead last. Year 2, we were in the top 5, and then the third year we won the 500.
Yep.
But going into that off season, I'll say this very politely, is higher up management didn't care if we plateaued or got to 1 and 2 and 3 because we had 3 car entries.
Yep.
We can take the podium, sweep the podium.
Right.
Okay. So that was my goal.
Yeah.
Built it 3 years, got to a point where we can make an absolute dominant name for ourselves and, no acknowledgement. So I left.
Yeah.
I left after the next year 500, the day after.
Yeah.
Mid-season.
Yep.
No one saw it coming within the organization. A lot of my loved ones around me noticed that I was different. I was burnt out, not motivated, very upset daily, coming home, bringing it into my personal life, going through the threshold door and, bitching and moaning.
Right. So with you saying that in that scenario, I see that you didn't really hit a denial stage.
Not yet. I didn't quit
but
yet.
you knew it wasn't right.
Correct.
It seems like you almost probably went right into the anger stage of the grieving.
100%.
Because it's, the anger stage is like, oh, if they just would have listened to me, this would have been right, Yeah. And I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with bargaining. But bargaining is more internal.
Yeah. So on the educational side from you to me. So then I leave. Right now, you feel that weight off your shoulders. You feel like you're sticking it to the man, right?
Yeah.
And now you're sitting there, no plan.
Yeah.
Income stops, but my internal pride was like, I'll do it I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then months go by, and you're kind of trying to start something that you didn't even think.
Yeah.
So let's run through those plans. But 100%. Number 1 is what?
Denial.
100%. And now I've learned that if I was,
and I'd say you don't see denial as much in like a job loss or something like that. It's definitely, you see that more in losing somebody close to you. But there definitely is denial within there. So, I mean, if you did go through that, I mean, what was that?
The denial?
Yeah.
I would say not taking responsibility for my goals and really communicating it thoroughly enough to get the answer that I needed to maybe reroute that avenue and see like, oh, this is maybe a 2 or 3 more year project instead of taking it so personally.
Yeah.
So I denied that from my upper management because I was new in that position in my life.
Yeah.
So looking back,
Gotcha.
100%.
Okay. So 2 is anger. And obviously you already said, I mean, you were upset and stuff like that. I mean, actually you probably almost might have said this word for word, even to me and my dad once, but like the example I have for anger on here was for like losing a job or quitting a job. And it was, he was a terrible boss. I hope they fail.
Yeah. I feel like I just said
what I mean? Yeah.
Sticking it to the man.
You're like, well, they were terrible anyways. So I hope
they're going to go down without me. But guess what? Everyone's replaceable.
So like I said,
the person that gets replaced by me,
Yeah.
I'm replacing them in another form of job. Like my next career move, I replace somebody else. So it works both ways.
Yeah.
So then after that comes bargaining.
Give me an example.
So that would be like, man, if I would have just talked to the right people within the organization, maybe something would have changed.
What, beneficial to me?
Yeah.
I think I just kind of briefed on that. Like it just falls into place, right?
Exactly.
100%. Like if I really, if to the word last week of transparency, if I was just told them the way I felt, whether I got the answer I wanted or not, it would have been my authentic self to say,
right,
this is who I am. These are my feelings. And their reaction is either going to be good in a positive way where I could have stayed, or
Right.
2, it's not. And it's like, okay, there's my closure and I
Mhm.
need to disperse
Yeah.
myself from this environment.
Yeah.
I never gave that an opportunity.
Excuse me.
I feel like I would say I was immature in that scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's man. There's like just listening to you guys. There's a lot of questions that. I mean, I'm 54 years old, right? You guys are not like, oh, you guys are so much younger than me.
Oh, don't worry. We're
Um,
getting to you too. You're next.
I love
We're gonna
that.
open that Pandora's box and get
But I
inside there.
mean, all these things that you tee on in your example, right, man, of like leaving a job or whatever. I mean, it's real. I mean, I start thinking about, why do people leave jobs? And you mentioned, right, leadership, lack of recognition, all those things, accolades, blah, 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 whatever it is. And sometimes it comes back to the way you're hardwired, right? Sometimes it comes back to that, but sometimes it's just not the right place. It's just not healthy. You know what I mean? Because you guys know your body's the best. You know your mind's the best, right? You know where you want to be and what you want to do. And I think one of the 2 great skills that you guys have, man. I mean, you guys are really, really great with people. You know what I mean? You genuinely talk to people. And I think that's a huge skill today that sometimes is being missed. I read another article this week, on Gen Z, millennial, whatever, just younger people in general. Like they took a survey and they're basically saying how leaders of companies can't communicate to them, and they just won't have it. They'll just be like, screw it, I'll go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like if you can't accept the way that I work, then I'll go find someplace else to work.
Oh, 100%.
And that is such a different mindset than the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
I mean, again, my parents, my grandparents, they all worked for companies for 40 plus years. My dad had his own business for 40 plus years, but like my grandparents, and mine are maybe a little bit different because my grandparents were both dairy, farming families or what have you, but they did the same thing. But my grandfather, he worked at a corporation in La Crosse, Wisconsin for man, almost 40, retired from it. You know what I mean? Just like factory positions, with Ford or GMC or, large auto dealers or whatever. I mean, like here in Indianapolis, you look at some of the largest corporations back in the day. When I say back in the day, I say like in the 70s, 80s and stuff like that, maybe even 60s, people worked there for a long time. But they could make a living. They could have a home. They could have a family. They could, and the world's just changed, man. And it continues to change. I'm an ever optimist. So, when I think of change and I look at kind of what's going on today, it's exciting because, the world's moving. I still think there's a place in this world today for the skills that we're talking about, talking to people, relating to people, things like that. But it's changing. And if people my age that are in leadership positions, people my age, 50, mid 50s, man, a lot of successful people are in senior VP, presidents, chairman's positions, right? If they can't learn to connect with the younger generation, man, good luck. Like, good luck.
Amen.
I mean, and I don't know. But I think it's a great example, Tim. You know what I mean? Like you guys have both been through this where you guys have, left positions, lost positions. I have too. I mean, it's pretty easy to talk about. I think it's one of the things like on here again, like when we pose these questions and we bring these discussions to the world, everybody can relate to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
100%.
sucks. It sucks going through a change like that.
Yeah.
It
sucks being pigeonholed into a corner before you even made that pressure.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on that yesterday to continue on with what we were saying is that feeling of stress and anxiety that you don't need to be there, but you can't afford to leave.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a real thing for mental health.
Yeah.
Totally.
How do you go about that?
Yeah. And I mean, there's talking. I mean, that's the biggest thing in everything we talk about. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Is talking, whether it's to a close support group around you, friends, family, therapist, anything. I mean, that's the biggest thing that's going to get you.
It's the easiest thing, but the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And especially now, the way the world is so sensitive to this subject, not to the way that we need it to be, but it's it's listening.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just say listening is if you're in a position at work and you're stressed, why don't you try talking to your boss or your management? Say,
Yep.
hey, I feel this way. What do you think I should do?
Yeah.
You know?
And chances are they are going to react to that a lot differently than what you think they are.
Than the way.
And I'm saying that from experience.
Yeah, dude,
100%.
I'm like, come on.
It's
I'm saying that from experience.
100%.
There's been times I held back, didn't say anything, kept it in, but in the end, that just made me more angry, more anxious, more whatever.
Look, this dude,
And
he sits here and he did probably one of the most courageous things that anybody can do when it comes to being willing to go out on a limb and say, man, I hope my company is gonna stand behind me.
Yeah.
When you made that choice to go.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll
come
tell
on,
everybody.
man.
So when
I mean,
when
that's a scary. Like, I don't know if I could do that.
When I came to the realization that I had a problem with alcohol, I had to go through a lot of steps on who I had to admit this to, not only myself, but so I finally realized it and admitted it to myself. Then I had to admit it to my father and my mom. Then I had to admit it to my bosses. And
so scary. Holy shit.
I'm a project manager at a general contractor, great job. And, I'm going in there, but I also, I made the decision to go to treatment because I needed it. I was just a broken, miserable person inside at that point in my life. So I kind of had the mindset going into it that, well, if I lose my job, I'll have to figure something else out afterwards. But I went into it and told them, like, hey guys, look, I have this problem. I'm going to a 30-day treatment facility to, get better, start the process moving forward of, through sobriety.
Yeah.
And, the responses I got back were insane. Like in the best way possible.
Not the way that you had it in your head.
Exactly. It was, hey, hey man, glad you made, you had that realization. It's very brave. Let us know if there's anything we can do.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. I mean, but Austin, I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, and I would tell listeners out there, younger, older, whatever, wherever you're at in your life, if you're struggling with addiction and you want to talk to somebody, reach out to us, because we have a lot of great resources that have been through it and can share, and you're a testimony to that. But nobody knows what that feels like. Like, I mean, my point is, you're the only one that knows how that feels like, right? I can't even imagine going to my parents.
Yeah.
30 years old.
No.
Okay. Like, I love my mom and dad. Don't get me wrong. I love them, but I can tell you this. I would have been so intimidated to do that. So intimidated.
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
Your sense of like internal pride kicks in. Be like, naturally, I can't do that. I'm better than that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it takes a
I had those
point.
thoughts.
Let me ask you.
I'm sure you did.
Let me ask you a question. I think this is going to be important for
ahead.
someone that's listening, that could potentially hear this in a week and be in your exact shoes that didn't make that step. If you had to give yourself a piece of advice 6 months or a year earlier, what would you say and what would you do to the person that may be in that scenario?
Great question. See, you said you were going to throw it on us.
Yeah, I did. And then, whoo, man, flip that 180.
Great question.
So, and I said this in my, so I'd toyed around already with about probably 3 to 4 months prior to even going to treatment. Like, it was in my head.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I kind of gauged that.
But I would say if you have that thought, it even just crosses your mind and you're like, shit, like, I can't pay my bills. I'm drinking every night of the week, and once I start, I can't stop. Call someone. I mean, you could call. I mean, there's one right here where actually I went and met Tommy Streeter, Allendale Treatment. They have an office right here in Carmel. Call someone about it. Like we just said earlier, talk about it, because it's not going to hurt to ask questions. There's so many resources out there, and if you can't, afford to take 30 days out of work. You can't. There's outpatient stuff too, to where you can go. You take classes, online classes, that will all help with this. Secondly, just go to an AA meeting. They're free. Anyone can go.
Do you look
Go and
those
listen.
things up for the person that doesn't know how to take those steps?
Google it.
It's that easy.
Yep. Yeah.
See, that's awesome. That's
Just
stuff that
Google it.
people need to know.
You could Google, Alcohol Anonymous meetings, and bunch of stuff will pop up. There's an app. I'll shout it out right now that I use. It is called Meeting Guide. You go on there, and it has got anywhere you're at in the world. It's got meetings, and you can usually find one about every hour of the
awesome.
day, every single hour of the day.
That's kick-ass.
That's
Anywhere
awesome.
you're at.
Nationally, right? Nationally, and
Nationally.
probably nationally and internationally.
I haven't
I would
looked
guess.
internationally, but nationally, yes.
Yeah.
So let me just go back and finish these kind of 5 stages of grief,
yep.
Tim. So, we got to the end of the bargaining. So, and you, like I said, you touched on all of these when you just gave me your scenario. Like I heard it when you went through the whole line, storyline of it. So the fourth one's depression.
Very.
Which, like you said, you hit that wherein you were like, well, now it's longer than I thought. I don't have a job. I don't have money coming in.
Yeah.
And you kind of just get stuck in this.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So then the fifth one's acceptance of the situation you're at, whatever happened. How did you get from that depression stage to the acceptance stage? What was it? Who was it that kind of brought you out of that? And you're like, all right, this is what it was and what it is, and this is what it is now.
I think shortly, I mean, that list for me went it felt slow, but it was fast.
Yeah.
So by the end of the season, I had a business started.
Right.
It was like chicken scratch business.
Right.
And
I remember. Yeah.
Basically, at the end of towards the end of that season, I was in my uniform, and I had a list of, clients that I was working with, and my manager at the time was with that team and saw me in the paddock and came up and hugged me.
Yeah.
After we were basically arguing with each other a day after the month of May.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, your uniforms look good. Your videos look good.
Yeah.
It was just like, I was just arguing with this person less than 6 months ago.
Right.
About
probably, yeah. Probably 4 months prior.
Yeah. Basically, it was me dropping a ball on him that he was blindsided on, and we're yelling about our disagreements. And here we are a couple months later, and he's congratulating me.
Dapping up on the paddock, and
it almost felt like that was the acceptance that
that you needed.
Yeah, just to feel like, oh, I really, that person understood where I was coming from. That manager knew where I was coming from internally, but maybe didn't have the sense to maybe pull me aside and say, look, I know what you're going through. Just hang in there. We have a ladder to climb. Just educate me.
Yeah.
Educate me in the young position that I was in, instead of me being like a hothead, I have all the answers and I need to go.
Yeah.
It created this pressure, and he's like, you know what, man, like, we're all going to learn from this. And the scenario that it was, it's not a big deal.
Right.
It's not, you made your decision. Everyone moves on. It's not like he's going home to his family thinking about me and what I did to that team. Like, that's not the way it operates.
Yeah.
Right. So that, to me, that kind of really hit a mature seed in me to, like, he didn't hold a grudge against me, and he stood up for me a lot of the beginning years, that individual. And I was very upset that I felt like I let him down once the dust settled. And he was the first one to shake my hand, give me a hug, and like, man, I'm happy for
awesome,
you. Hope it all goes well.
Great. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just think it's a testament to life, man. I mean, it's funny because even at church today, I'm blessed, man. I'm around a really cool group of people that has helped me see that, I'm free, right, in my belief in Christ. But we were just talking about today, man, how people go through life and they're going to fall down and stumble. right? They're going to fall down, stumble. People are going to get fired from jobs. People are going to get picked up for DUIs. People are going to get in trouble. People are going to get arrested. People are going to, let their mouth run, right? People are going to let, all these things are going to happen in life, right? But it's life. And I think what happens is, man, is like, we just put a lot of pressure on our own selves.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we put a ton of pressure on our own selves.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that you can't be competitive. It doesn't mean you can't be savage. It doesn't mean you can't be dominant. It doesn't mean that you can't excel at what you do, right? Like, it doesn't mean any of that. It's kind of like what James was even talking about in his interview this past week, man. It's like he mentioned that there's a very fine line between accepting losing and not liking losing. Like, you don't like to lose.
No,
I can't even imagine, like, in that space, that's a whole different world. Nobody likes to lose, though. I don't give a shit if you're playing, baseball as a kindergartner, or you're playing MLB, or you're playing football here on the TV or wherever. Nobody likes losing.
No.
But what I love about James, what he said is, he made this analogy like with Joseph Newgarden, right? He said, look, man, he's won the champion or Indy 500s last 2 years. But how many races did he start
and lose?
In his whole career.
Right?
It was a great point.
So it's you just learn from these things. The other thing, the reason I bring that up, just around, church and things like that, is I believe that this world wants us to not understand that it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
This world wants us to think like the immediate fail, you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just not true. That's just not true at all. And so, I say that to our listeners. I say it to people out there if they hear this, you know what I mean? Like, listen, learn from it. You know what I mean? Get yourself around a community of people that you can hang out. Austin just mentioned this, like, get around a community of friends that you can talk to and actually find your friends, right? Because I mean, that's another great point. Like,
That's
you probably realized through your experience, like, who are my friends and who are not my friends.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was, who was around me because, and I mean, it was very few, but like, who were those fake ones? Who were the real ones?
Yeah.
You know, who checked up on me after I came home? Things like that, it goes a long way.
100%.
Absolutely, man. I mean,
and the biggest thing is who can you trust to, or who can you trust to talk about these things to?
Right.
Yeah.
Especially, and I think, Tim, like a generation like ours where people want to be the first ones with information and to share that information with somebody else. It could be as much as a breakup or a fight you had with your girlfriend, and it's like, oh, I got to tell this person because Austin came and told me first. And it's like, can you trust that person you're telling and admitting these things to?
Or to say, even on the negative side, like, oh, I told you. Like, what's that doing?
Yeah,
right.
Like,
right.
what
immediately says
what
you're
good
wrong.
are you doing?
Yeah.
Might as well
None,
bring a
yeah.
needle to a birthday party and pop all the balloons.
Yeah.
Pal. Like, what? Who does that?
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, no, man.
That's
But
great.
people do.
What a
Who
downer.
invited this guy?
But then on the contrary,
Pop all the
on the
balloons.
contrary of that, it's and I'm not a doctor or anything like this, but it's just what I've seen.
Neither am I, buddy. None of us are.
They're lacking attention somewhere else in their life, and
Oh,
that's why
yeah.
they want to do.
Yeah,
that. And,
yeah.
or not even want to, feel like they have to do that.
Yeah, it's funny, man. This is such a great point, man. Like, why would you
You
do
like that, don't you?
I do
Pop
love
all
it.
balloons, man.
I do love it. I do love it, man. Yeah, I mean, it's just recognizing, man. And I don't listen, man. I appreciate you guys like wanting to do this. This is, going live, doing this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that I think, for what we're doing at Building a Refuge is real. The more content, the more stories, the more real life, shit we can put out there, the better. And I think there's a lot of podcasts out, in the podcast world today. You know what I mean? Like, there's a shit ton of them out there today. Some that I like, some that I don't like, right? But I mean, I don't know. I'm probably a little biased to this because I think, talking about real life shit is real. Like, you know what I mean? No pun intended, but being able to talk about this kind of stuff, examples that you guys have had, and, just the challenges, because here's the deal. Like I've said this before, man, I don't look at the word, I don't try to use the word mental health as much anymore, more so than I use mental wellness. Because I'm a firm believer that everybody has a mental wellness barometer, and that barometer is constantly changing, like the humidity level or temperature levels or whatever, right?
Okay.
And some days, that barometer can be in a really good place, can be very balanced, and then in other days it can be really jacked up. You know what I mean? Pressure's high, pressure's low, whatever, right? So it's a moving target. I think, quite frankly, that's why a lot of people have a hard time with understanding what the goal is around mental health. I don't think I don't, in my opinion, man, it's like, don't try to overthink this thing. Just be real with it, man. And that's why, like, at Building a Refuge, again, like all of our events, all of our meetings, I want people to know this and hear this. Like, we might have a couple people listening today, which I'm cool with. I don't care. If one person happens to stumble across this and be like, okay, I kind of like these guys, right? Because they're no bullshit.
No.
But I just think that it's important, man, to be as real as possible. We set no expectation. So if you come to a meeting, you come to an event, you come and hang out with us, we're never going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
We're never going to put somebody on the spot. We're never going to expect that somebody spills their guts with us, because it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's just hard. And if you're not ready to do it, we're not going to be the group that tells you got to do it.
No.
Right.
What I'll tell you is that down the road, when you get to that point in time and you want to do it, we're here.
Yep.
Come and hang out with us. You know what I mean? Come and hang out in our basement.
Yeah.
We're ripping lefts today.
Well,
yeah.
We're going to have some snacks, talking football.
I can relate to that a lot because even when I got to treatment, and I mean, it took me a good 4 days, maybe 5 days of listening to everybody else talk and share about their addiction as well before I felt comfortable sharing my journey. Because you get so, and it may have just been me, but you get so to this point of comparing my story to their story. And it's like, well,
I think we got a guess. Somebody's knocking on the door.
Mine's not, mine doesn't sound as bad as yours, but it does, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're all on a parallel. We're all dealing with an addiction in one way or another.
Sure.
Right? And
that's a great point,
that's
Austin.
just kind of what I wanted to share.
Super great point.
My story with grief, and my dad and I's kind of have some parallels as well. So, mine.
Did you want to flip the script? Can
mean?
we ask you?
Sure.
Like,
yeah. Do you need the notes, or do you got it?
No. I mean, we just went through it, but let's
go ahead.
I mean, for someone, so mine was a job, right?
Right.
To preface. So yours is going to be addiction.
Well,
right?
It leads to that.
Okay, it leads to that. So let's
my
bring
grief story is losing one of my best friends to an overdose.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And a little backstory on that. He had dealt with addiction to prescription painkillers, and that in turn had led to fentanyl and heroin and things like that. So I had gotten a call. My dad will remember, we were hanging out down at the bar, and I got a call from my other best friend, Dakota. And, he called me, and I was like, hey, what's up, man? He goes, hey, did you hear about Oliver? And I was like, no, what happened? I was just texting him, the other day, a couple days ago. He goes, well, he overdosed on heroin last night and passed away. And it was one of those things where, I mean, immediately I didn't want to believe it. I was like, nah, that's not right.
Yeah.
I was just talking to him. We're going to meet up here in a couple days. That ain't happen. That didn't happen. I mean, uncontrollably, I remember dropping to my knees. And so that was the start of losing Oliver, was the start of my grieving story.
Yeah. And you've mentioned that for like
long time.
Yeah. You told me that a long time.
Since it happened. And, so to even start that, I mean, I immediately, and my denial stage was pretty fast, because, I mean, it's hard to, neglect that.
Yeah.
So, I went through that pretty fast, but then immediately hit that anger stage. And that stuck with me for a hot minute, because I knew the guy who gave him drugs. We graduated with the kid, and I mean, I had a resentment. I was like, I see this motherfucker. Like he better fucking go the other way. I just,
yeah,
I was
anger.
so mad.
Anger.
And that stuck with me for a long, long time. And the anger and the bargaining of it kind of went hand in hand with me in the sense to where I was like, well, man, dude, like if I'd have just been there that night, like I could have got him not to do it. He wouldn't have done it. If I was there, I'd been like, nah, dude, that's stupid. Don't do it.
What do you think that did to you? That bargaining stage, an interesting stage for me. What does that do for you in a positive or a negative? Obviously, it's a negative point, but what is that?
A small moment, you know, it did a lot to me and leading me into depression because it was one of those. I was like, well, man, like, because he had reached out to me some other times too about, hey, man, you want to hang out this night? Not busy, or made an excuse or something like that. So it kind of even led me into that depression. It's like, man, if I would have hung out with him more, if I would have, done this or that, like, maybe he wouldn't have been around that night and this wouldn't have happened. So that really, really took a toll on me.
Yeah.
And I was in that, I was in that depression stage for a very long time on it. In the end, that is what led me to my, drinking problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is because I got into that and being depressed about that, it was how I dealt with the depression was drinking.
How old were you then?
20. I would have been 20.
I would say 26, maybe 25,
25, 26. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
So, in turn from that, whenever I was anxious, depressed, happy, sad, that's where I went to, was a bottle.
Yeah.
That was my medication. That was my muse. That was everything and how I dealt with it. And so once I got it, I was in that depression point essentially until the day I went up to treatment.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Like, that was a big part.
And going through treatment is when I finally had that acceptance that, he was gone. And the acceptance that I didn't need alcohol to, in turn, treat this depression, this anxiety, this, I went through a lot of loneliness too, being 28, 29 years old, living alone, being single, everything like that too. So there was a lot of contributing factors to the drinking, but when it came back to it, it was the loss of my friend, the depression I went through the grieving process, and how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't talk to anybody about it.
Yeah.
Seldomly would I share it, the story, and talk about it, but that was it.
Yeah.
I didn't talk about how I felt, how it affected me,
right?
Anything like that.
Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you telling me that, man. Because one, there's a lot of people that are in that same exact position.
Yeah.
Every time you think something's happening to you, there's a million people in that same category.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I appreciate you saying that. And that's why I love, to your point, Brandon, that this is live. This is not scripted.
No,
at all.
No.
This is raw.
And that's what this is. Yeah, that's what I love about us doing
thank
these.
you.
You know what I mean? Like, I love doing
I'll
these.
Share
like,
that story with anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, even Tuesday night, we're doing something a little bit different with this live venue, if you will. My buddy Scott Blewett and I, let's go Pack. My buddy Scott Blewett and I are going to be doing a series on the Romans, the book of Romans, right? And so for folks that thinks that that might think it's a traditional Bible study, it's not. You know what I mean? So but it isn't scripted. We don't have it scripted. Sure, will we be prepared? Yeah, we'll be prepared, and we'll we'll hang out, and we'll certainly use it as a guideline. The Bible is a guideline, the book of Romans is a guideline, but like aligning it to what happens in real everyday life. Let's go. Packers just scored, getting ready to head up 14-13, just so everybody knows. But that's why we do this, Tim. And man, I love doing these environments. So it's like when Clark and I talked about this and creating this live atmosphere, we can take this thing anywhere. You know what I mean? And we have some really fun ideas to maybe do it at a cigar shop one day, right?
Oh,
just to do it in different environments where we can ask people to hop on, like, man, jump on, tell us, because here's what I've learned. This is the crazy thing. For one, when somebody sees this setup, like if you could see our basement, Austin, you've done an amazing job setting the studio up today. It's kick ass. Yeah, buddy. Love it.
See it.
Yeah. But it's amazing because people walk in and be like, hey, what's going on here? What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And that's all I want to happen. Because here's the thing. You immediately can go, we're building a refuge. We're a men's mental health nonprofit. We're just talking about real life shit.
Man, I got to say, that's just awesome. We went to grab cigars the other day.
Yeah.
And there was, I want to say, around table, probably 8 to 10 dudes.
Yeah.
They were watching the Colorado game.
At the cigar shop. At
Cigar Box.
Yeah, Cigar Box.
And
shout out to the Cigar Box.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
And man, wouldn't that be great? Just sit down and talk to those guys, right? I want to say something. If they're for all of our people listening, okay, let's normalize talking to someone.
It's a damn great point, man.
Put your phone down and normalize talking to someone.
Except if you're pushing content out, then it's allowed.
Right? Like, can you imagine going up to someone in there and, sir, is there a time when you felt? What's your take on mental health?
So, and what I thought you were
and that can of worms cracks wide open.
What I thought you were gonna say was how they were essentially doing just what we're doing in there right now.
Yep.
They just weren't live. They just weren't live on YouTube or anything like that. But they were just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Enjoying a cigar, the boys hanging out, talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly right, man. I mean, and that's the fun part about going live. Now, listen. I think I was going to maybe mention this a little bit earlier, what Clark and the team does at LDR Studios. And so if you're listening to this, you come across it. If you're in the business and you need recording services, video services, anything like that, multimedia, Clark and LDR Studios is where you should go and check out and talk to them because they're amazing. If you don't get to them, call me. I'll help you out. But these environments are just raw. And that's what I love the best about it. Like even, talking with James and James Rowe and talking about IndyCar racing and stuff like that, man, like I want to get this thing to a point where by May, right, we can go post up out in Speedway somewhere, right, on a Saturday afternoon at, 1 o'clock somewhere. Hopefully,
maybe we'll have to talk about to James on that. Maybe
post up
suite
somewhere out there,
somewhere like that,
right? Because here's the deal: it doesn't take a lot of bandwidth to hit one camera, 4 mics, whatever, and hit YouTube live, right? So shit, man, we can be in the infield of the Indy 500, right? We can be at a restaurant, a bar, blah blah blah, wherever in Speedway. But just set it up, man. So I get this envisionment where there's, dads and sons, dads and daughters, moms and daughters, friends, whatever, man. Maybe they're coming to experience Speedway for the first time in their life. Never seen the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, right? And we're all hanging out doing this right here. And a driver, who knows, comes in and hangs out and they get to ask them real life questions. Yeah. Like a guy that might have just come off the track. Like, what was it like going 240 miles an hour into turn 4?
I mean, we'll get
or turn 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And that's just the real, what's it like? That's why I was so excited about having James come on because he gave a glimpse into the real life window of what it's like to be a 26-year-old guy from Ireland to come to this country, as we've called it, getting it on, right? And because I just think when we're watching these athletes, I'd love to have an athlete come on, right? You know what I mean? What it's like. But I probably am a little, again, biased with IndyCar racing because you've taught me, Tim, and like I said, I've growing up here. But dude, it takes a shit ton of work.
Yeah,
ton of work.
I mean, everyone puts their pants on at the same time, so it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah,
you get burnt. Yeah. People get burnt out.
Yeah,
that's right, man. You got to get up in the morning and decide what you want to do with the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just crack on.
Crack on, man. I mean, get up and get after it. You know what I'm saying? And I realize, we realize here, I know you guys do, life is hard at times. But find a group like this, man. I mean, shit, dude, it's fun. We do some fun stuff. We have really cool event coming up at the end of the month, November 30th, Heavy Metal for Hope, right? Funny thing, I just talked to this lady today. There was a lady at church and she's like, hey, are you guys doing that event, that you did last year? That was a lot of fun. I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, we are. I said, but I got to tell you, I said, it's a heavy metal show. She was like, really? I was like, yeah. She's like, that is awesome.
No way.
I would have never expected it, right?
Good.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was out putting up posters, old school style, right?
Oh, your videos
slapping
were
them,
so cool.
dude, slapping them to telephone poles, walking in. But here's what it forced me to do. If I walked in and Austin was
Say it.
Yeah, it forced me
Say
to
it.
talk to people.
Let's go.
Yeah. And, I was like, man, like I got up and I got a run in yesterday morning and I was like, fuck, do I really want to go downtown today and do all this? Like, it's going to take all day. I started getting that in my head, telling me, don't do it. It's going to take all day. You know what I mean? It's going to get into my time, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, fuck. And then I was like, I went for a run. I came back. Clark and I had a really good discussion. And I was like, you know what, man? I'm just sticking to the plan, man. Sticking to the mission. I said I was going to get up today. I was going to go on a run. I was going to take these posters downtown and slap them up, get rid of them all. I did it.
Crack on.
And the cool thing was, man, I got to talk. Here was the really cool thing. This was my pitch when I walked in, like I was getting ready to say, right? I walked in, I was like, hey, Austin, what's, or I didn't know their name, right? So I'd walk in, I'd be like, hey, how you guys doing? My name's Brandon Liam. Listen, I got a question for you. I say, I run a men's mental health nonprofit. We're doing an event at 416 Wabash on November 30th. Would you guys be open to me putting a poster up in your window? They're like, absolutely. You know what I mean? There wasn't one place that told me no. Like, there wasn't one place I went into yesterday and told me no. One of the guys was like, yeah, man. He's like, shit, we got a board back here. He goes, I'll put it up for you. Put one in the window too.
That's awesome.
I mean, and then I met this really cool lady yesterday. Like, I wasn't really going to go into the store. They're a local artist. They're right on Mass Avenue, Circle City Clothing, Circle City something. But they do all their own. They're all artists. I walk in, man, and this lady was all down for it, man. She was like, oh, yeah. She's like, I'll put you up. And she knew Chris at 416 Wabash, and man, it was cool, And then I went to Black Circle Brewing. They were awesome because I walked in and Black Circle Brewing is just a really cool brewing company. So shout out to them too, man. But I was like, hey, did the same thing as you guys might have put a poster up. They're like, look, man, if you want to put a poster up, you can put it anywhere you want to. Like, go ahead. But then I was like, okay, I got a question for you. And the girl was like, okay. I was like, if you were going to put a poster up, where would you put it? She's like, I put it right there on that door. And I was like, boom. That's where it's going.
Yeah, man.
That's
awesome. And then Luna Music, the record shop here in Indianapolis, local record store. I walked in there. The guy was so cool, man. Like, he was like, how many do you got? I said, I only got 2 left. He goes, well, that's perfect. He said, because I was thinking about slapping them back to back. So people, when they walk in and go out, can see it. I was like, yeah, well, thanks, man. So I'm like, it's just
awesome.
Yeah. So it's fun, right? I mean, and that's what we want to do. Like, even, to call out the Heavy Metal for Hope, man, this is a heavy metal show. Like, so I'd tell people, if you hear this and you like heavy metal music, or if you like just rock music, like, come and see this. These are, I try to explain it, man. These are 3 really good bands.
Original too, right?
All original.
Yeah.
All original.
That's good.
They're not playing covers. You know what I mean? They're coming in and doing their own thing. And I want to be known for that, man. Like, as we create and we do more things with Building a Refuge, one of the things, we talked about this last week when we were doing this live deal, right? Being authentic, right? And being authentic is a big deal. But man, that's what I want. I want people to look to us to be like, hey, man, these guys will give us a shot. Like the Rock and Ride for Hope that we'll do next June, man. It's a 1-day music festival. And we'll have 2 stages next year. We'll have a backstage and a front stage. And if we have local artists that want to come play, come on out, like School of Rock, dude.
Yeah.
Bring all the bands.
Awesome.
Hook up. Let's jam. Because music is an outlet. I don't care what kind of music is. I don't care if it's heavy metal. I don't care if it's rap. I don't care if it's R&B. I don't care if it's jazz. I don't care if it's country. I don't care what it is, man. Music brings people together. So that's why, like, we're sitting in our basement, man. We used to go to the Hangout Music Festival, dude. You just look at all these artists, man. Some of these artists that we look on these campuses, man, that were on tiny stages, man, are now like worldwide headliners.
Yeah, it's wild.
But I love it, man. And that's I just appreciate you guys, man. It's fun to do this stuff and talk about real life shit and what's going on these football games. So
yeah.
We're almost at the second half.
No, we're in the second half, buddy.
In the second half.
Hell yeah, we are. We're in the second half on every one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little rundown here. Baltimore is behind 7-9. I like Pittsburgh's been doing all right. The Colts we're up. They're down. I think 14-13. The Lions are just steamrolling, man. Dude, Lions are if you're not in the Super Bowl,
I don't even count their one loss. Like they shouldn't have a loss.
That was a fluke.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was a
okay.
fluke. That was a fluke, man.
I'm only
Like,
saying
stop
that so you
hyping
guys
them up.
lose.
All right,
first round
here's
playoffs,
the deal, bros. Okay, here's the deal. We're at 1 hour. So, like we did last week, like a soccer match, we're going to go a little longer because we're going to talk some football right now.
Go
Okay?
added 15 of football on the
and,
end of it.
and we might even add in there a little bit like we did last week, a little bit of food questions because we like that. Okay. So right now, I'm going to ask Tim because we left it off there. Where do you think you're going to land at the end of the year here, record-wise, Tim? You're 8-1 right now. You're smoking Jacksonville 35-6. Your next few games are not like terrible, like terribly difficult. I know we got you one more time. The Packers got you guys one more time, but that's
You're
not
pulling it up.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Whatever. So you have you got the Colts coming up, Tim. So
Yeah,
Colts,
they're next
Bears, Packers next 3 weeks. And then you end the season with the Bills, the Bears, the Niners, and the Vikings.
Yeah, so we'll go. They should.
You're winning every one of those games.
I
You
think
guys
the-
should
I
let
think-
dude. You should end the season 16-1.
Yeah, but that's just not going to happen once we clinch.
No, because once they clinch,
they're going to take out their
everyone's out.
starters.
So.
You don't think Dan Campbell's going to bring a second string in? They're going to be gritty as hell.
I mean,
Well,
I
they
know
will
they
be, but-
gritty, but it's just we're not in the Miami Dolphin era anymore.
Well, you got one loss, so
Oh, come on.
yeah, right. Make a tackle.
I just, you know what, man? At this point, like, they just look consistent, and they just,
Yeah.
Me and Austin were saying earlier, like, they've been healthy, they're doing their job, and if something happens where you think like Aiden Hutchinson, that's gonna ruin them, they're just not. They're just, they're built different, and all they got. I mean, last week, kind of. There we go. There's another one. Last week kind of said it. I mean, that game was
it's a huge-
atrociously ugly against Houston, and if grit was in the dictionary with the Lions logo next to it, that game proved it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was
Yeah,
horrible
that
to
was
watch,
that was
but, man, they got it done. Like their kicker tied it, win it.
Yeah. That's right.
Defense was more than alive, but one game at a time.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
You Pack?
We'll be lucky to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the NFC North, man, this is the conference, right? So, like Austin said, man, we're shooting for a wild card spot right now. I mean, I think if we can end up the season, 12 wins, will be great.
If we lose to this Bears team, I may not wear Packer gear the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean,
this Bears team shouldn't even be 4-5.
yeah, they're not great. Yeah, this would be a painful loss for us if we end up losing, but I don't know. We still got fourth quarter. Yeah. How about the Colts up here? What's that?
Colts are mediocre.
Who are you gonna say? Who are you gonna ask?
What Super Bowl teams? Who's going?
Oh, okay.
Who's going
Basically
to the
midway.
Super Bowl?
We're basically midway.
Yeah, we're
season.
midway.
A little more, but
Lions
of course.
and
AFC's it's
gutsy.
It's a rodeo.
it's just tricky.
Mm-hmm.
It is a rodeo.
I
mean,
know who I have.
I mean, the Chiefs
I just wanted to
the
check
Chiefs
really
are.
quick.
I mean, Chiefs are going to be hard not to Like
Yeah.
until they prove you differently.
I have a crazy theory about the Chiefs right now, in that I think Andy Reid is making these close games on purpose to get these guys ready for close games that they actually have. There's no reason they should have been that close to the game with the Broncos.
Honestly,
I just don't think it necessarily. I just don't think they prepare for games
I think
like
it's going to be
man.
the Bills.
You do well. It's the Bills. The Bills. I mean,
they were
so
my
strong.
AFC pick.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just.
I think they finally got it together.
So who would you pick as a? I mean, look, you got the Ravens. I mean, who would you pick as a outlier team that could be
Steelers?
there?
Yeah,
that's what I was just going to say.
Steelers.
Pittsburgh.
Outlier
for the AFC.
Yeah, the Wild, like just a long shot, right? I mean,
the Pittsburgh's going to be my.
I mean,
well,
shit,
hell, they win this game though. They're winning their division, but
yeah.
So I guess technically they wouldn't really be a long shot.
No, they wouldn't be.
I was at this point the Texans
kind of, I guess, yeah.
But the Chargers, I think.
The Chargers
can do some damage.
They're quiet. I mean,
I don't think they're a long shot for a super. I mean, they're like a
just
Cinderella story.
I think they can disrupt someone in round one. Put it that way.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean,
they get in wild card and get past a wild card.
I'll tell you, for the NFC, I think I'm really worried about the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals
coming on late, kind of.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, I'm not threatened by the Chiefs. They're all they're all one possession games.
The Packers beat them last year.
They're just one possession games.
Yeah,
it's just.
I mean, right now the top ranked teams are KC, Detroit, in this order: KC, Detroit, Buffalo, Philly, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Baltimore, Green Bay. That's 10. That's top 10.
Yeah.
And then in the next 10, you got the Chargers.
My NFC wild card, though, for potentially making a run is the Commanders.
For wild card.
Like, they're my wild card pick to make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Rookie quarterback. I mean, what? Was Elway the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl as a rookie? Who was it?
No, it wasn't Elway. I don't know.
I think there's only been.
We need our producer to look that stat up for us. Yeah, we need our producer to look that stat up for us, please. Yeah, man. I just, I think that Pittsburgh is a good call out. I think Baltimore obviously is there. The Chargers, the AFC wise, anyways. Houston.
I was way wrong. A rookie quarterback has never won nor started a Super Bowl.
Wow, that would be pretty badass. That would be super badass. That would be something else to see the Commanders be able to do that. That dude's a stud, though, man. He's pretty solid. We need to do something here, man. The Packers need to fucking get their head out of their ass. See what we got here.
Permanently stuck there. Get there,
Jacobs. All right. Well, it's second and short. So, all right, fellas. So
let's end it with this.
Okay.
Favorite football Sunday dip.
Oh.
You know mine. Mine is my sister, your fiance's buffalo chicken dip.
Whoa.
No one else's, hers.
Okay.
There's something about it.
There's something about it.
And I always tell her it's made with love, but
I don't know. I think she sprinkles a little something special in there.
I don't know, man.
That's my favorite. That is my favorite
Sunday dip. Favorite Sunday dip. Football dip.
We're about to taste their spinach artichoke.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait for that.
It's probably going to be a close damn time.
Man, here's the deal. Mine is probably just straight up like a good old sausage and cheese, nacho cheese just in the crock pot. Yeah, little bit spicy.
Midwestern love pot.
Little bit spicy, not a lot spicy. Little bit spicy. So
medium spice.
Little bit spicy. You haven't said yours yet though, man.
Me?
Yeah.
I took his probably as well.
It's good. It's good. Oh, in a 3-2-1 moment, man. Honestly, it's favorite dip. Shit, it's definitely that. I mean,
you can't beat it.
You can't.
All right. Well, then what's your close second?
It wasn't a dip. It's It's just like, what do you call those hot dogs that are wrapped in croissants?
Pigs in a blanket,
dude.
Ooh.
Or those like turnover pizza things. Not hot pockets. What are they?
The
little pizza rolls.
Pizza
like
rolls.
Bites.
Oh, pizza
yeah.
bagel?
No,
the battery's going low, man. What's going on here?
It's just like a little
Hasn't been
nugget
in the whole
thing, and
time.
it's pizza rolls.
Yeah,
pizza rolls.
Just
A little
throw them in, just handful of them like Liam does with the.
Well, let's wrap it up then. We're dying.
I know. Well, I'm not dying yet, but I kind of probably know what the problem is. But
that's all right.
Yeah, it'll be fine. I was gonna ask this: Is there a favorite? Is there a favorite? No, I didn't do it either. Thanksgiving's coming up. Is there a favorite side dish?
Great call.
For Thanksgiving.
Green bean casserole.
That's a solid one.
Extra onion strauss on top.
Okay. Green bean casserole.
Brandon.
I would probably have to go with a good hearty mac and cheese or just some like good solid potatoes. Like mashed potatoes, like the good ones with sour cream and some milk and butter. And that's a solid dish right there.
Solid.
Tim?
And one last one, because this is the side of a side.
I guess we're doing top three. Then.
Okay, no, it's not. This isn't a side. It's a side of a side. It's a side of a side. I mean, I'm making it right now. Good old Norwegian lefse.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna go with your wife's cereal cookies.
The butterscotch.
The
butterscotch.
It's a side in my world.
Butterscotch.
Who says it has to be a dessert? We just spent a whole time saying nothing. There's no rule. Just talk about it.
No rules. That's right.
It's a side. I've eaten more of those things than I have Thanksgiving dinners.
They are good.
I love it, man. I love it.
Oh man.
All right. Well, hey, look, man, we're at an hour and just about 15. So we appreciate everybody. I think we had like 5 people listening today. So that's cool. I'll take it. That's good. I mean, listen, we're gonna bring this to a city near you. Okay. So if you have an idea, it's a good idea. Hey, if you have an idea that you'd like us to do on something like this, man, just let us know. Give us a holler, give us a shout. You can reach us.
Football.
You can reach us at our Gmail account, buildingrefuge@gmail.com. Reach us on Facebook, whatever. We got a lot of football yelling going on here. I love it. Packers just put one deep. That was good. But give us some ideas, man. If you got restaurants, if you own a restaurant, you own a bar, whatever, you guys want us to come out and do a live podcast, we'd be grateful to do that at your place. Do a little shout out.
If you want to sponsor anything, let us know.
If you want to sponsor, man, good call.
We're looking for sponsors.
Yeah, so. Austin, that's a great call out. We are a 501(c)(3) registered 501c3 nonprofit, and all of our donations that we take go 100% back to the community. So we don't take anything. Mm-hmm. We are all volunteers, and I'm okay with that, man. If one day somebody wants to bless me and say, hey, look, we want you to do this full time, I'd love to do it. But right now, I love doing what we're doing. But so anyways, man, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, man. It's fun to do this.
Thanks,
Austin, thanks for setting this little deal up down here.
Yeah, no problem, man.
And LDR for letting us do this.
Yeah,
man.
Right.
We love Clark and the team. We wouldn't be able to do it without them.
And stuff, man.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
We didn't have all this stuff. So, but
and showing us how to set it all up.
Yeah, right.
Me.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up, listen, if you are out there and you're going through something, struggling with addiction, or you're struggling, depression, anxiety, all the, kind of triggers that we know that lead to mental challenges, mental, wellness challenges. Anyways, man, reach out. We have a couple of resources that we promote on this show. One is you can text 494949. You can text refuge to that, and it's an anonymous text line. The national suicide hotline is 988. So reach out there. Certainly, we appreciate all of our veterans. So thank you very much for everything that you've done. If you're active, thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate you guys. And listen, No Shave November is going on right now, man. And it's all about men's health awareness. So, check on your buddies, check on yourself, and Just go out there and take care of yourself.
Talk, share,
Oh,
talk.
yeah. I was gonna say, do
Message
you have
of
an
the day,
do you have an
talk and share
email
and
that they
talk.
can, if they want us to talk about a subject?
Yeah, that's what I just said. They can
Okay.
email us at buildingarefuge@gmail.com. You can hit us up, instant message us on, Facebook Messenger us, what have you. But just reach out, man. We'd love the ideas from our audience. And like I said, we're streaming on Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Apple Music. So we're really excited about that. So if you are into listening to podcasts, much like I am, you can go out and check us out there. So a lot of great stories, a lot of amazing stories of hope at the end of the day. So we hope you all have a great day. Tim,
Thanks, guys.
Austin, thanks, buddy.
Talk to someone.
That's right.
That's your
Share,
challenge.
talk.
Talk. Have a good one.
See you next week.
Go Pack, go.